Over here on a Thursday morning, going to be a hot and humid one, and we're going to Victoria right now to catch up with Liza Yuzda, News 1130's legislative reporter. And schools are what we're talking about today. Lisa, the province announced the reopening plan for BC schools yesterday. A lot of details, a lot of planning, still much to decipher. So let's start overall with the plan. Give us some of the major details and the reaction.
The big things I think we need to know are that school is planning to go back full-time in September. Then there's a whole lot of caveats to that. When it comes to elementary and middle school children, they're going to be in cohorts. Well, all of the kids are going to be in cohorts, which are essentially kind of pods, where the kids will be able to interact with one another outside of just their classroom groups, but will remain physically distant. So there's a difference between it being your bubble, that's what you have at home, and your pod. So that will be groups of about 60 children in elementary and middle school. The maximum is 60, so it could be less, schools and students and teachers. And then for high school, it will be pods of 120 students approximately. That's based on essentially 2 classes, twice the number of a normal class in elementary school and middle school, and four times the amount in high school. Now, I felt like I had a bit of a heart attack, and I think a lot of parents did. My pod, my bubble at home is exceptionally small. There are 8 of us, and that seems even quite large, but that's been the same number that we've had since March 7th. So it's hard to wrap our brains around whatever size pod you have right now. It's sure as heck not 60 or 120. And then if you factor in people having a couple kids, that doubles or triples that. So Dr. Bonnie Henry, who is obviously a big part of this, said, you know, we have to think about it differently. We have to think about it more like kids are going to work, that they will stay physically distant, but still can interact and talk to one another, and that that's important for kids to be able to have, you know, what they need for their mental health to continue forward. There are a lot of people who thought it was a great idea. There's obviously a lot of people who are not incredibly happy with this plan.
Okay, before we get to the BCTF reaction, there's obviously more than 60 kids in a given elementary school, most of them. So are they staggering the days, or are they in a different section of the school? Like this group of 60 is here and this group is over here. I'm a little sort of confused about when they talk about full time. How's that going to work?
What they are talking about is altering schedules, not days. Kids are planning on being there full time as far as we know. Different schools are going to have to tweak this slightly according to their size, their district's needs, those kinds of things. But the plan is that, say, Group A, which has 60 kids, so, you know, Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Jones would start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then they would take their lunch at noon. And then another group would start at 8:30 in the morning and take their lunch at 11:30. So children wouldn't be coming and going at the same time, having lunch breaks at the same time, having their playtime outside at the same time. Of course, children have to go to the bathroom, and so I don't know how they factor how kids are going to the bathroom.
Interesting. A lot of factors here. So what's the reaction been when it comes to some of the negative aspects of this and the need for much more planning as September 8th draws closer?
Well, I mean, you mentioned the BCTF. They're saying that they're not happy with it, that they need more teachers at the table. There were teachers at the table. There were staff at the steering committee table. Essentially, I think it boils down to them wanting more specifics about cleaning that's going to be done at the school, and they want smaller classrooms, that they're saying that the size of classes that we have, which are around 20, that there isn't the space to physically distance. Dr. Henry talked about that and said, especially with younger kids, the focus is going to be on keeping their hands and keeping their things to themselves, because they don't get the 6 feet rule. So there are a lot of things to be worked out. Education Minister Rob Fleming was saying that, you know, we have another 5 weeks for people to ask questions of their school, their district, and the government. Having said that, the Premier was supposed to have a presser today that he canceled. They said it was scheduling. It seems like a really bad time to have a scheduling conflict.
All right, well, many more details to follow, and we look forward to having you back to break them down. Thanks again for your time today, Liza.
Have a great day, Thor.
Okay, you too. That's Liza Yuzda from News 1130, and we'll be back.